On the day of layoffs, the HR manager smiled like a plague and handed over a termination letter. I signed, packed my things, and left without looking back. Colleagues whispered, some gloated, others pretended to sigh. I didn't say anything, went home, cooked myself a bowl of instant noodles, and sighed comfortably. Finally, I no longer have to get up early to clock in. 1 month later, the accounts of the 3 core projects were all stuck, and the front desk was flooded with calls from suppliers for payment. The chairman flew back from abroad and went downstairs to check the accounts in person. He flipped through the roster. His face turned pale, and he threw the documents on the table. Who approved the layoff list? Who the hell laid off my wife? The entire floor was silent, and I was sitting on the sofa, applying a facial mask and browsing the recruitment website. My phone buzzed with more than a dozen calls, and I was too lazy to answer it. When I work, I earn a monthly salary of 30,000 yuan. If I don't work, I will be pursued. This deal seems to be a better deal. Chapter 1. To be honest, I was not surprised at all about being laid off. Even a little relieved. At 2:30 that afternoon, HR manager Qian Jiming stood next to my workstation with a smile on his face, holding a brown paper envelope in his hand and grinning like a Maitreya Buddha. Su Tang, come on, can you lend me a moment to talk? The ears of the colleagues around me all stood up. I put down the report in my hand and walked into the small conference room with him. Qian Jiming pulled up his chair and sat down, pushed the envelope over, cleared his throat, and put on an expression of, I'm in trouble too. Su Tang, the company has been optimizing and adjusting its business recently. As you know, the general environment is not good. He talked a lot. I listened expressionlessly the whole time, wondering whether I should eat pickled fish or snail noodles at night. So, the compensation will be calculated as N+1, and the company will never treat you badly. He smiled and turned the termination letter to the page where he signed, and thoughtfully handed over a pen. I took a look at the numbers. Okay. Enough for me to eat snail noodles for 3 months. Okay. I took the pen and signed it. Qian Jiming was stunned for a moment. He had obviously prepared a whole set of words to deal with my crying, questioning, and even going to the boss. As a result, I signed faster than he could take out a pen. Don't you think about it? No, it's pretty good. I put the pen back on the table, stood up, and patted my skirt. When will the compensation arrive? Next week. Okay, thank you for your hard work. When I pushed the door open and went out, Qian Jiming was still sitting on the chair, with an expression as if he had swallowed a fly. No, it was the first time in his career that someone was so polite after being laid off. I returned to my workstation and started packing my things. In fact, there is nothing to deal with. A drinking cup, a box of tissue paper, and a pot of dying succulents. Sister Lin poked her head over from the next door and lowered her voice. Tang Gang, are you okay? Is this really what you signed? Signed. Don't you go talk to the leader? The accounts of the 3 projects in your hand. It's the company's decision. Respect it. I stuffed the meat into my bag, thought about it seriously, and took the box of tissue paper with me. It was expensive and would be a big loss to the company. Sister Lin opened her mouth and looked at me with a distressed expression. I know she thought I was forcing myself, but I really don't care. You may not believe it. I work in this company purely because I am too busy. When I walked to the elevator with my bag on my back, I met Meng Siki head on. Meng Siki, Vice President of Company Operations. 32 years old, beautiful, even better dressed, walking with a wind, speaking with a prickly tone, and smiling like a fox who just stole a chicken. She was laughing right now. Oh, Sutang. She tilted her head, her tone full of condescending regret. I heard that you today, well, it's such a pity. She was carrying a limited edition bag and stepping on 12-centimeter high heels. She looked at me from head to toe with a look of pride that could not be hidden in her eyes. I know who put this layoff list in place. From the first day I entered the company, Meng Siki disliked me. The reason is simple. She thinks I am too quiet, so quiet that I feel like I am hiding something, so quiet that it makes her uneasy. And I never participated in the afternoon tea, team building, or a flattery contest organized by her. In her eyes, I was probably just a smelly and hard rock. A stone with a monthly salary of 30,000 yuan is worse than being kicked away and pulled down. As for another reason, when I went to the bathroom, I accidentally heard her on the phone, her voice sweet and sweet. Brother Yanzhou, are you free this weekend? Brother Yanzhou. What a coincidence. My husband's name is also Yanzhou. His full name is Fu Yanzhou. He is the chairman of this company. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Meng. I smiled at her and pressed the elevator button. Meng Siki narrowed her eyes and the curve of her mouth became deeper. She must have felt like she was winning. Winning very thoroughly. Bite. The elevator door opens. I walked in, turned around, and at the last second when the door closed, I saw Meng Siki taking out her mobile phone, with a look of relief on her face after clearing the obstacles. The door is closed. I lowered my head and flipped through my phone. Fu Yanzhou's latest news was sent half an hour ago. Honey, it just snowed here in Switzerland, so I took some photos for you. Video at night? I replied, no, I'm unemployed. I have to go to bed early to conserve my energy and start looking for a job tomorrow. 10 seconds later. What does it mean to be unemployed? Who dares? I put my phone on silent and stuffed it into my bag. No rush. Let the bullets fly for a while. Chapter 2. The days of unemployment are really refreshing. On the first day, I slept until I woke up naturally, ordered a pickled fish takeout at noon, paired with a bottle of iced Coke, and watched 6 episodes of a variety show on the sofa. The next day, I went to the vegetable market downstairs and bought ribs, lotus root, and a handful of green onions, and made myself a pot of lotus root and rib soup. On the third day, I asked Sister Lin out to eat hot pot. Sister Lin held my hand as soon as we met. Her eyes were red. Tang Tang, don't be afraid. In the worst case, I will help you with referrals. My cousin's company is looking for accountants. I chewed a fat beef roll and said vaguely, no hurry, no hurry. I want to rest for a few days. You have such a good attitude. Sister Lin gave me a piece of hairy belly, worried. But after you left, the finance department has begun to be in chaos. Xiao Lu, who took over the account of your 3 projects, can't understand it at all. I can't understand it. I set up that reconciliation system myself. Can't you leave an operating manual? No one asked me for it. I dipped a chopstick in sesame sauce and ate it to my heart's content. Sister Lin sighed deeply. In fact, I don't have any idea at all. I worked on those 3 projects for a year and a half. From contract to payment to invoice verification, all the processes and data were in my head. The reconciliation system used in the ledger is a set of function nested models that I built using Excel. The formulas alone include more than 300 lines. Apart from me, no one in the company really understands those formulas. But can you blame me? When they laid me off, they didn't ask me to take over the job. Qian Jiming waved his hand and said, N+1, sign and leave. Then I'll just leave quickly. When I got home, there were a few more missed calls on my phone. All are company numbers. There is also a WeChat message from Xiao Lu. Sisterso. I can't find the manuscript of the Q3 reconciliation sheet for the Ruixin project. Where did you store it? I took a look and put the phone back on the coffee table. Cannot read back. Sister is no longer from your company. Ding dong. The takeaway has arrived. I went to open the door, and it was the milk tea I ordered. After sitting back on the sofa with milk tea, I opened the recruitment website and browsed a few pages casually. To be honest, I am not short of money at all. Fu Yanzhou's card is lying in my wallet. I still don't know how much the limit is because I have never reached the upper limit. The reason why I insist on working is simply because I don't want to be a full-time housewife. It's not that it's embarrassing. It's easy to gain weight if you're idle. When I first joined this company, I used my maiden name, Sue. The name on the employment registration was also Sue Tang, and the address was my own small apartment. No one knows that Sue Tang in the finance department, who rides a shared bicycle to work every day, eats in the company cafeteria for lunch, and never participates in team building, is Fu Yanzhou's wife. Does Fu Yanzhou know that I work in his company? No. He originally wanted to arrange a position as vice president for me, but I refused. What a joke. The vice president has to attend meetings, make PPTs, and socialize. I just want to quietly do reports, reconcile accounts, and get off work on time. How nice. It's a pity that even this simple wish has been deprived by Meng Siki. I sighed and opened Fu Yanzhou's dialog box. After I told him that I was unemployed, he sent no less than 30 messages, ranging from who dares to explain it to me clearly to I will buy a plane ticket back now to who is this short-sighted person? I didn't reply to any of them. Didn't mean to mess with him. I'm really too lazy to explain. Anyway, he will return to China the day after tomorrow. What needs to be known will naturally be known. I snuggled into the sofa, chewed on the straw, and turned to a recruitment information. A company is recruiting. Senior financial specialist, monthly salary 15K to 20K, weekends off. Conditions are okay. Much worse than my previous company. I casually submitted a resume. Anyway, being idle is idle. Chapter 3. On the 8th day after I lay down, the company finally exploded. These are what Sister Lin told me later. The end of the month is a critical moment for the finance department. All project reconciliations, payment approvals, and supplier settlements must be completed within these days. I usually handle this process by myself. The data, contract terms, and payment nodes of the 3 core projects are all in the system I built. I can complete it in 10 minutes by running through the formula. Now I'm gone. The system is still there. But no one understands. Xiao Lu was the first to collapse. He opened the Excel file I left behind, stared at the densely nested functions on the screen for 2 hours, and finally let out a wailing sound from the depths of his soul. Is this a fucking reconciliation statement or a nuclear bomb launch code? He tried to reconcile manually. After 3 days of checking, the numbers became more and more outrageous, and the final amount was 470,000 different from the actual amount. Financial Director Wang Zhengwo's face turned green. What are you right about? The difference is 470,000, and you tell me it's a slight difference. Xiao Lu was about to cry. Mr. Wang, I really can't understand Sister Sue's formula. One by one, I changed one cell, and the whole table collapsed. Wang Zhengwo took a deep breath. Call. Fain Sutang. Hit. Beaten more than a dozen. I didn't answer. It's not that I didn't answer on purpose. I was doing my nails that day, and my phone was on silent. At the same time, the suppliers of the 3 projects began to make frantic phone calls to collect payment. Why haven't your payments gone through the process yet? The contract says it's before the end of the month. If you don't pay, we will stop supplying it. Have you finished checking last month's settlement statement? The front desk fielded more than 60 calls a day and finally pulled a phone cord. What's even worse is that one supplier went directly to the partner to complain. The partner is a big customer. A big customer made a phone call to the company's top management. Senior officials called the chairman's office. The secretary in the chairman's office answered the phone, his voice trembling. Mr. Fu is still on a business trip abroad and is expected to return tomorrow. Let him come back today. The person on the other side threw the phone. That night, Fu Yanzhou changed his flight in advance. Red-eye flights. He called me before boarding the plane. This time I answered it because I was lying on the bedboard and watching short videos. Wife. His voice was deep, as if he was holding something down. Have you set a password for the company's reconciliation system? No, the file is on the desktop. Then why can't anyone open it? Perhaps editing permissions were set? I forgot to cancel it before I left. There was silence on the other end of the phone for 3 seconds. What's the password? My birthday. There was silence for another 2 seconds. They don't know your birthday. Well, that's why it can't be opened. Fu Yanzhou took a deep breath. I heard his teeth grinding. You wait for me to come back. Okay, do you want me to pick you up at the airport? No, you stay home and don't move. He hung up the phone. I turned over and continued to watch short videos. A funny video popped up. When the boss finds out that key employees have resigned. In the picture, a man screamed at the computer. I laughed for a minute. Chapter 4. Fu Yanzhou did not go home first after returning to China. He went directly to the company. 6 o'clock in the morning. He walked into the building under the still light and swiped his card to go to the top floor. At 8 o'clock, all middle-level managers and above were urgently summoned to the large conference room. Sister Lin later described the scene to me using one word. Morning hall. The whole conference room was like a morning hall. Everyone's face was pale, and they didn't dare to express their anger. Fu Yanzhou sat at the head of the long table with a stack of documents spread out in front of him. He was wearing the dark gray suit, and his tie was tied meticulously, but his eyes were all red and bloodshot. With the red-eye flight and 0 time difference, it was hard for anyone to see where he was going. Lu Zheng stood behind him, holding coffee in his hand, with the standard, I know everything, but I don't say anything calm expression. Let's talk about finance first. Fu Yanzhou turned over a page to report, his voice not rising at all. The month-end reconciliations of the 3 core projects of Racing Project, Zhongming Project, and Xinrui Project are all stuck. Supplier reminders, customer complaints, partner accountability. Who can explain it? Financial Director Wang Jiangwo was the first to speak, but his voice shook like a sieve. Mr. Fu, these 3 projects have been coordinated by Su Tang before. Her reconciliation model is rather special, and the team is still digesting it. Su Tang. Fu Yanzhou frowned and looked down at the roster. The movements are natural. After all, there are more than 300 people in the company, and he usually only cares about strategic things. He really can't remember the names of people below the middle level. But the 2 words Su Tang are different. I use my maiden name, and the identity information of my maiden name is also included in employment materials. But there's no way he wouldn't recognize the word Tang. His finger paused on the page. The conference room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Sister Lin said that she saw with her own eyes that Fu Yanzhou's eyes changed from tired to confused, and then from confused to confirmed. It ended up being a very, very dangerous calm. Su Tang. He read the name in a very soft voice. Then he turned to another document, the layoff list. Su Tang, Finance Department, Senior Financial Specialist. Reasons for abolition, business optimization and position adjustment. Approver, Qian Jiming. Co-signer, Meng Siki. Fu Yanzhou stared at these 2 names for 5 seconds. Then he lifted the whole pile of papers. With a pop, it fell on the table. Papers were scattered all over the table. Who approved the layoff list? His voice finally gained warmth. But that temperature was below freezing. Who the hell laid off my wife? The whole place was petrified. Even the sound from the air conditioner outlet stopped for a moment. Wang Jiangwo's mouth opened and closed and opened again, like a vase being lifted out of the water. Sister Lin later said that she was sitting in the corner, and her soul flew directly to the ceiling. Wife. Su Tang is Mr. Fu's wife. That Su Tang who rides a shared bicycle to work every day and eats 2 meat and 1 vegetarian meal at noon? That Su Tang who never participated in team building, always got off work on time, and who was fired and could sign his signature better than anyone else? Is it the chairman's wife? The air in the entire conference room froze for about 10 seconds. Then everyone's eyes, all at once, turned in one direction. Qian Jiming. Qian Jiming sat in the middle of the long table. At this moment, his face was as white as an A4 piece of paper. No, even A4 paper is redder than him. His lips were trembling, his fingers were trembling, and even the PPT page-turning pen slipped from his hand and fell on the table with a click. Fu, mister. Fu. His voice was like bubbles squeezed out of his throat. I don't know that Su Tang is, He turned to look at Meng Siki. That look clearly said, you killed me. Meng Siki sat diagonally opposite him. Her reaction was a little better than Qian Ziming's. At least she still maintained an expression on her face. But those hands, the hands hidden under the table, had pinched their fingers until they turned white. Mr. Fu, she forced a decent smile. There may be some misunderstanding about this matter. The layoff list is evaluated based on performance appraisal and job redundancy. We don't know about Su Tang and you. Shut up. One word. Fu Yanzhou didn't even look at her. Meng Siqi's smile froze on her face. He stayed frozen for 3 full seconds, and the curve of his mouth collapsed little by little, like a melted wax statue. Fu Yanzhou stood up, buttoned up his suit, and glanced at the audience. Within an hour, I want the entire approval process for this layoff list, the raw performance evaluation data, and all Su Tang's work records since joining the company. He paused. Whoever signed it will explain it to me. Turn around and leave. Lu Zheng followed him. When he walked to the door, Lu Zheng looked back at the people in the conference room and moved the corner of his mouth slightly. That arc is very restrained. But Sister Lin can see clearly. He was clearly holding back a laugh. Chapter 5. After the meeting ended, the whole building felt like a hornet's nest. Messages travel faster than fiber optics. Have you heard? Su Tang is Mr. Fu's wife. Mr. Fu threw the document at the meeting. Manager Qian's face is as white as a ghost. Mr. Meng was told to shut up in person. The tea room exploded, the WeChat group exploded, and even people in the toilet cubicles were whispering. Sister Lin sent me a long message of 800 words, with 3 exclamation points at the end of each sentence. I was leaning on the deck chair on the balcony to soak up the sun. After reading the news, I took a sip of orange juice. All right. I originally wanted the bullet to fly for a while longer. It's flying too fast now. At the same time, Qian Ziming was about to faint. He hid in a small cubicle in the personnel department, his hands shaking like Parkinson's, frantically flipping through the approval records of the original layoff list. Why the hell didn't I check it then? He muttered words and cold sweat soaked the back of his shirt. Speaking of which, this layoff list was indeed signed by him. But the person with the name Su Tang inserted into the list was not him. It's Meng Siqi. 3 weeks ago, Meng Siqi accidentally mentioned to him in a private chat. Su Tang in the finance department, her performance seems to be average, right? I heard that she gets off work on time every day and does not participate in any project coordination meetings. The company happens to be optimizing. Can you take a look? Qian Ziming didn't think much about it at the time. He has been trying his best to please Meng Siqi. After all, Meng Siqi is the vice president, and it is rumored that she has an unusual relationship with Mr. Fu. Only by embracing this tie can his future be guaranteed. He will cut whoever Meng Siqi says will be cut. Anyway, what kind of trouble can a small financial specialist make? Now the waves have swept him to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Qian Ziming picked up his cell phone and called Meng Siqi. Ringed 4 times and answered. Mr. Meng, you told me that Su Tang is just an ordinary employee. You didn't tell me that she is Mr. Fu's wife. There was silence on the other end of the phone for 2 seconds. I don't know. Meng Siqi's voice was cold. The layoff list was signed and approved by the Human Resources Department, and it has nothing to do with me. Don't bother me at this time. Beep. Hang up. Qian Ziming held the phone and sat blankly for 30 seconds. At this moment, he finally understood. What does throw away after use mean? What does it mean to throw the blame faster than turning the pages of a book? He, Qian Ziming, is the pot. As for Meng Siqi, after she hung up the phone, she sat in her office, looking unhappy but not panicking. At least not on the surface. Meng Siqi is a smart person. She has been in this company for 2 years and has risen from department manager to vice president, relying on more than just her ability. She found out very early that Fu Yanzhou was married. But his wife has never been seen in the company, nor has there been any public information. She even had a bold guess. Maybe Fu Yanzhou's marriage was just a business marriage, and the relationship between the couple was not good. Otherwise, how could a wife not even come to her husband's company? How could she have imagined? Not only was the wife here, but she was sitting right under her nose. She even drove him away with her own hands. Meng Siqi pinched her eyebrows. She needed to think of a foolproof plan. She couldn't let Fu Yanzhou find out that the real promoter of that list was herself. Could not. And just when she was thinking about countermeasures, there was a knock on the office door. Mr. Meng, Mr. Fu invites you to go to his office. It's Lu Zheng, smiling. That smile looks harmless to humans and animals. But a layer of cold sweat broke out on Meng Siqi's back. Chapter 6. When Meng Siqi opened the door to the chairman's office, her back was straight and her expression was carefully adjusted, 3 parts guilty, 3 parts innocent, and 4 parts professional and capable. She had practiced this expression countless times in front of the mirror. Mr. Fu. She lowered her head slightly, her tone appropriately apologetic. This layoff is indeed due to the negligence of the Human Resources Department. As a co-signer, I also have the responsibility for poor supervision. I dash. Sit. Fu Yanzhou raised his chin and pointed to the chair opposite. Meng Siqi took a look at his face and found it difficult to judge. She sat down. Mr. Meng. Fu Yanzhou slowly flipped through the documents in front of him. When you signed the layoff list, what were the evaluation criteria? Performance data and job redundancy are all compiled by the Human Resources Department. As a co-signer, I mainly review the compliance of the process. Process compliance. Fu Yanzhou repeated these 4 words, his tone sounding like he was chewing something. Then he pulled out a piece of paper and pushed it over. Meng Siki lowered her head and looked. This is Su Tang's performance evaluation for the past year. A plus A plus A. A grade or above for 3 consecutive quarters. The department ranks first. A plus performance was evaluated as position redundancy. Fu Yanzhou raised his eyes and looked straight at her. Mr. Meng, do you think this is reasonable? Meng Siki's expression finally showed a crack. I didn't check the performance data carefully at that time. It was my negligence. I have never seen you neglect every document you handle. Fu Yanzhou leaned back in his chair and spoke in a calm tone. You can pick out the discrepancy of 300 yuan in the company's last procurement case, but you can't see an A-plus employee? Meng Siki said nothing. Her mind was racing, and her lips formed a thin line. Mr. Fu Yi. I have checked your email records and communication records for the past 6 months. Fu Yanzhou pulled out another document and slapped it on the table. 3 weeks ago, you sent an email to Qian Jiming. The title was Recommendations on Optimizing Personnel in the Finance Department. There was only one name in the attachment. Meng Siki's fingers curled up tightly on her knees. Su Tang. Fu Yanzhou read out these 2 words, 1 word at a time. The office was quiet for 10 seconds. Meng Siki took a deep breath, and her eyes suddenly began to turn red. Mr. Fu, I admit that I do have some prejudices against Su Tang. Her voice trembled slightly, with just the right amount of vulnerability, but I have absolutely no malice. I just think her work attitude may not be suitable for the company's development needs. I made a wrong judgment, and I am willing to take responsibility. At the end of the sentence, she even squeezed out a tear from the corner of her eye. Beautiful. Precise. If someone else had been sitting across from him, this performance might have received full marks. But the person sitting opposite him was Fu Yanzhou. He looked at Meng Siki's tears, and his expression didn't waver at all. It's like looking at an unqualified report. Meng Siki. He called her full name. Everyone present knew what the full name meant. 2 things. First, Su Tang's performance has been A+ continuously. She has supported the reconciliation system of 3 core projects by herself. You have seen what the company has become after she left. You said she is not suitable for the development of the company? Meng Siki opened her lips slightly, wanting to say something, but was pinned to the chair by his eyes. Second, do you think I don't know why you targeted her? This sentence, like a basin of ice water poured from head to toe. Meng Siki's expression completely changed. You called me 3 months ago to ask me to have dinner on the weekend, and it was recorded by the front desk. You approached me 5 times in the name of work, and Lu Zheng recorded them all in his itinerary memo. Fu Yanzhou stood up and buttoned his suit with a finishing touch. Do you think you'll have your seat if you take her away? Meng Siki, she is not just my employee, she is my wife. You laid off my wife. Do you think your seat should be higher or further away? Meng Siki's tears were real this time, but not tears of grievance. It's fearful. The Human Resources Department and the Legal Department will complete your resignation evaluation within today. Fu Yanzhou picked up his coat and walked to the door. You don't need to apologize to me. When my wife comes back, you can apologize to her. He opened the door. Lu Zheng was standing at the door, still holding the cup of coffee in his hand, his expression as harmless as ever. When Fu Yanzhou walked over, he whispered, Go pick up my wife. She should be at home. Lu Zheng bowed slightly. My wife went out this morning and said she went to a hot pot restaurant. Fu Yanzhou paused for a moment. Hot pot restaurant. Yes, according to my wife's moments, she is eating butter pot bottom with duck blood and hairy tripe. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Daughter-in-law. The whole company is in a frenzy over your issue. You're eating hot pot. He took a deep breath and quickened his pace. Lu Zheng followed, the corners of his mouth finally no longer restrained. Chapter 7. Boss, add some shrimp paste. I raised my hand and shouted to the waiter, then threw the last piece of tripe into the boiling red soup. Sitting across from me was Sister Lin. She had stopped eating at all. She was holding her mobile phone and broadcasting the company's post-disaster scene live to me the whole time. It's over, it's over. When Meng Siki came out of Mr. Fu's office, her face was gray and her legs were weak. Oh, Qian Ziming has been suspended. The Human Resources Department is investigating all the layoff cases he has handled. The whole company is talking about you being Mr. Fu's wife. In the corridor, in the tea room, in the canteen, everywhere. Have the shrimps come yet? You should be nervous. Sister Lin was almost crying. Why are you nervous? I picked up a piece of duck blood and dipped half a plate of sesame oil and garlic paste into it. It's not that I want to be dealt with. Sister Lin choked. Very good. This is the truth. Eating hot pot is serious business. But to be honest, I don't feel a little bit, how should I say, a little bit happy in my heart. Just a little bit. In the past 3 months, Meng Siki has treated me not once or twice in the company. I was not given a team building list, and project assignments were always the most tiring and complicated tasks. During meetings, I was criticized in front of others and said, it's okay for some people to just hang around in the company. Don't hold them back. Nothing is too big. But when accumulated, it is like needles pricking people with blood. It's not that I haven't thought about telling Fu Yanzhou, but every time the words came to my lips, I swallowed them back. I feel it's not worth it. It's just Meng Siki. I don't need to rely on my husband to solve my problem. More importantly, I don't want people to think that Su Tang relied on Fu Yanzhou to gain a foothold in this company. My performance is real. My abilities are real. Those reports, those reconciliation models, and those data that were verified after working overtime in the middle of the night were all made by me one by one. I don't need anyone's name to endorse me. So on the day I was laid off, I chose to sign and leave. Not cowardice. I don't want to act. But now, since you have revealed your trump card, don't blame me for laughing and watching the fun. Is your husband coming to pick you up soon? Sister Lin looked towards the door nervously. Perhaps. As soon as he finished speaking, the glass door of the hot pot restaurant was pushed open. A gust of cold wind blew in, covering the outdoor sunshine, and a tall man in a dark gray suit. Fu Yanzhou stood at the door, scanning the steaming red soup and the dishes on the table, and finally landed on me accurately. His expression was complicated. Feeling helpless, distressed, and a little bit gnashing of teeth. But more than that, breathed a sigh of relief. That I finally found you feeling. Su Tang. He came over and stood next to me, looking down at the duck blood still rolling in my bowl. Huh. I looked up at him. There was still a little chili oil on the corner of my mouth. He held out his hand. I thought he was going to pull my ears. Finally, he took out a tissue, bent down, and wiped the corners of my mouth. The movement is very light. It was so light that it was completely different from the way he was throwing documents in the conference room just now. Sister Lin dropped her chopsticks on the table with a pop sound. She looked at Fu Yanzhou and then at me, her mouth opened wide enough to fit a whole plate of shrimp sliders. Go home. Fu Yanzhou put away the tissue, his voice 10 times softer than before. There are still vegetables in the pot. He took a deep breath. The arc of his inhalation told me that he was trying his best to suppress the feeling of collapse of, can my wife give me some face? Then go after fishing. He sat down next to me. Lu Zheng stood far away in front of the hot pot restaurant, took out his mobile phone, and took a photo. The accompanying text was sent to my circle of friends. Major projects are under on-site supervision. Chapter 8. The next day, Fu Yanzhou took me to the company. You don't have to go. I'll get your compensation back and double it, he said in the car. No, I want to go in person. What are you going for? I turned my head and looked out the window, the corner of my mouth curled up. Go and see the excitement. At 9 o'clock sharp, I walked into the company lobby on my canvas shoes. The girl at the front desk looked up at me. Then she froze. Then she stood up. Then she bowed 90 degrees to me. Su, fellow, Kemes, Su. The sound of Mrs. Su echoed in the hall, clearly reaching the ears of everyone who passed by. After swiping the card to enter the office area, the corridor suddenly became quiet as if someone pressed the pause button. Everyone is looking at me. The content in his eyes was completely different from 8 days ago. 8 days ago. That's her, the one who was laid off. I heard that he signed the signature very neatly and didn't have any temper at all. I guess I know I don't have any background. Today. Is that Mrs. Su? Oh my god, she is really Mr. Fu's wife. Do you think I said anything bad to her before? Am I finished? Have you forgotten that last month you told her face to face that she was dressed like a college intern? Can I resign now? I walked over without changing my expression. My pace was exactly the same as before, neither fast nor slow, neither humble nor overbearing. When he arrived at the financial department, Xiao Lu was the first to rush out. He looked like he was experiencing fear, guilt, regret, and stomach cramps all at once. I. Just call me Sister Su. Tears almost fell from his eyes. Sister Su, the password for the reconciliation system. My birthday is September 17th. Thank you, Sister Su. Sister Su, I was wrong. Sister Su, I shouldn't have said you were rigid behind your back before. Sister Su. Okay. I patted his shoulder. Go and run out the Q3 data of the Ruixing project first, and I'll teach you. Xiao Lu nodded with tears in his eyes and ran faster than a rabbit. When I reached my original workstation, I paused. The workstation has been cleared. The desktop was wiped clean, the monitor screen was black, and even the takeout coupon I posted on the frame of the screen was torn away. I watched it for 2 seconds. Then he turned around and went to the conference room. Fu Yanzhou was already sitting inside. Next to him stood Lu Zheng. 2 people were sitting opposite. Qian Jiming and Meng Siki. Qian Ziming's state can be described as out of his mind. His hair was messy, the dark circles under his eyes were heavier than Fu Yanzhou's, and his tie was crooked. He probably hadn't slept all night. And Meng Siki. She put on makeup. Very sophisticated makeup. But it couldn't cover the gray under his eyes. The moment she saw me walking in, her body visibly stiffened. I sat down opposite her. We looked at each other across a conference table. There were many things in her eyes. Hate, shock, fear, and unwillingness. Like a spilled pot of mixed flavors. But the most important thing is the disbelief of how could it be you? How could the Su Tang in her mind, the Su Tang riding a shared bicycle, the Su Tang eating in the canteen, the Su Tang wearing a 100 yuan shirt, could be Fu Yanzhou's wife? She couldn't figure it out. She couldn't figure it out even to death. Mr. Meng, I spoke first, with a calm tone. Her shoulders tensed. You said before that I'm not suitable for the company's development. It makes sense when I think about it. She was stunned for a moment, as if she didn't expect me to say that. After all, I smiled slightly. It's really not suitable for me to be here with you in the company. Her face twitched. This sentence is not serious. But every word stuck in her face. Su Tang, her voice was very low, with a kind of forced dignity. I admit that there are some inappropriate arrangements for your work, but I make a judgment based on work. 3 months ago, you said in front of 6 people in the tea room, some people are just here to mess around. Is that a work judgment? Her lips moved, but she made no sound. You kicked all my project coordination emails out of CC, causing me to miss 2 payment nodes and almost causing a breach of contract. Is this a work judgment? Her face began to turn pale. You take my A+ performance and ask Qian Jiming to lay me off. I looked into her eyes. What kind of judgment is this? The conference room was quiet. Nang Siki lowered her head. It's not too low to admit defeat. It's so low that I can't hold it any longer. Qian Jiming seemed to suddenly come to life at this time, and half of his body bounced up from the chair. Mr. Fu, this matter was indeed instructed by President Meng. She sent me an email asking me to add Su Tang to the list. I just carried out it. I was also used. Meng Siki suddenly raised her head and glared at him. Qian Jiming shrank, but he could no longer stop. A person's instinct to survive in a desperate situation is to sell out his teammates. Shut up! Nang Siki finally couldn't hold it back, and her voice became sharp. Shut up? Are you telling me to shut up now? Why didn't you tell me to shut up when you asked me to sign it? The 2 people quarreled at each other. One throws the pot away, the other takes the pot, and then throws it back. The scene is like 2 wild dogs fighting for the last piece of meat. Fu Yanzhou sat in the main seat and said nothing. He even crossed his legs. Watching a play, I stole a glance at him. There's a very, very slight arc at the corner of his mouth. That's the arc that only I can discern. Means, look, the results are here. After arguing for about 3 minutes, Lu Zheng coughed lightly. This sound works better than anything else. Both men shut up. Processing results. Fu Yanzhou finally spoke, his voice as calm as if he was reading the weather forecast. Qian Jiming, HR manager, will be relieved of his duties with immediate effect, demoted to specialist, and all performance bonuses for this quarter will be deducted. In addition, all past layoff cases you have handled will be re-audited. If there are other violations, you will be held accountable according to the company's system. Qian Jiming's lips trembled, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end nothing came out. He knew this was the lightest. If Fu Yanzhou wanted to, he wouldn't even be a commissioner. Meng Siki. Fu Yanzhou looked at her. Meng Siki's face tightened and her nails dug into her palms. The legal department is already preparing your resignation procedures. Considering that you have contributed to the company in the past, your compensation will be based on normal standards. But I will report your behavior at the industry briefing meeting, using your authority to target subordinates and falsifying the basis for layoff evaluation. Meng Siki's face completely lost all color. Industry bulletin. Everyone present knew what this meant. This circle is so big. Once reported, her professional reputation in the entire industry will be completely ruined. No other company at the same level would use her again. Fu Yanzhou. She stood up suddenly, her voice trembling. Go out. 1 word. Exactly the same as what I said yesterday. Meng Siki stood there, shaking all over. She glanced at me. There was so much in that look. Hate me, hate fate, hate yourself. But more importantly, unwillingness. She was unwilling to die. Why? Why is a woman who rides a shared bicycle and eats both meat and vegetables the wife of Fu Yanzhou? Why did she work so hard and manage everything step by step, and finally lost to a person who didn't even care about Gucci and Coochie? She couldn't figure it out. But so what if I can't figure it out? Some things cannot be won by figuring them out. You win if you stand in the right position. And my position, it was never something she could cancel. Meng Siki turned around and left. The high heels stepped on the marble floor, shattering with every step. It's not that the shoe was broken. It was her dignity that was shattered. Chapter 9. After the matter was settled, Fu Yanzhou let everyone disperse. There were only 2 of us left in the conference room. He leaned on the chair and looked at me, his expression finally switching from boss mode to husband mode. What other grievances do you want to tell me? No. Really? Not really. He was silent for a moment. Then he reached out and pulled me over. I stumbled and almost hit the corner of the conference table, but was finally pulled firmly into his arms. His chin rested on top of my head, and the vibrations in his chest were transmitted through the thin shirt. Why didn't you tell me that you were wronged? I'm not wronged. Su Tang. No, I'm just too lazy to talk to her. You were laid off, but you didn't feel wronged? Then I got N+1. His arms tightened a little. You just know money. Then what else do you know? He laughed muffledly, as if there was nothing he could do to me. After a while, he said, "Come back to work." "No." "What can't you call?" "I don't want to come back." I said, "Seriously, your company's benefits are so bad that even employees can be laid off at will." His forehead jumped. "What do you want?" "Salary increase." "How much?" "Double." "Okay. In addition, you will get free lunch every day. Instead of eating in the cafeteria, you will eat outside." "Okay. Plus working from home 3 days a week." "Are you bargaining?" "If you don't agree, I'll go somewhere else." I took out my phone and pulled out the resume I submitted that day. "Look, I've already received the interview notice." Fu Yanzhou glanced down. His expression went through shock, speechlessness, collapse 3 times in a row. "You invested in my brother's company. Are you using my brother as a backup in front of me?" "The company has 2 weekends off." "I'll change it to weekly breaks for you." "No, I'll change it to weekends throughout the year." "Is there a year-end bonus?" "Your year-end bonus is my whole person." "That's such a shame." Su Tang. I couldn't help but laugh. He had a desperate look on his face.